All right, so we're dealing with solving equations by squaring both sides. This is mathematics. This is for grade 11 and grade 12. All right, so I've got some rules here. To solve squaring both sides, just follow these simple 4 rules. Write down all restrictions, but most of the time I don't see anyone doing this step. Step number 2, isolate the radical sign or signs. Step number 3, square both sides until no radical sign remains. That means if you have to square both sides for the second time, for the third time, do so until radical sign is gone. Number 4, always check your answer or answers if they are part of the solution or not. All right, we got the first question here. So let's do step number 1. Write down all restrictions. So the restriction that has to do with this, it's the x minus 2 under the radical sign. So I'll call that res. That's for the restriction, all right? So I know that x minus 2 must be greater than or equals to 0. And then when you solve that, when you transpose to the other side, you are going to have x must be greater than or equals to 2. That's the first part. But we have another restriction here because that's a denominator. That means the entire radical sign. I'm going to write it in turquoise. So that means the square root of x minus 2 is not allowed to be equals to 0. So to actually solve for x, that means you'll be squaring both sides like that. You'll be squaring both sides like that. That's the restrictions, all right? Then you've got x minus 2. It is not allowed to be equals to 0. Then when you transpose to the other side, it tells you x can be equals to 2. So we can include 2. All right, we can include 2 as a part of the solution. So when you look at the 2 restrictions in the box, I can actually do the number line, but I'm not. Let me rather do it anyway. So here's the number line. I love to put my arrows there because the number line extends indefinitely to the right or to the left. So we only have 2 as a number. So if we're to place 2 here, the restriction says x is greater than 2. First, I ignore the equal sign. Greater than 2 will tell me I must have an open circle. Then I must have an arrow going towards the right-hand side. Then I check and I said, oh, whoops, I've got equal sign. So I should be shading this. But that one tells me, you can't do it, so you can't shade it. So that means that is the answer. So the restriction for all of that combined, put together, it's what I'm writing in yellow. X must be greater than 2. That's what it means. So this is the restriction. I could have done it one time like that, but I wanted you to see how I actually get these restrictions here. So there we go. I'm just going to keep that momentarily. Step number 2, isolate the radical sign or signs, all right? So that means you must have one square root on the left-hand side of an equation or right-hand side. Or if you've got 2 square root, one must be on the left and one must be on the right-hand side, and then you can do the next step. Here, you can also use K method, but I'm not going to use the K method. You can use K method, replace this one and that one there by K, but I'm not doing it now. I'm not, because I haven't showed you K method. So what are we going to do? We clear the fraction. We multiply everything by the square root of x minus 2. So watch now. Square root of x minus 2 will times square root of x minus 2, which is square root of x minus 2, all squared. So you're going to end up with nothing else but x minus the 2, because the square root will cancel. Then you're going to have positive 3 times that root. So I'm going to write that in yellow. So it's going to be 3 multiplied by the square root of x minus 2. And then equals to, when you multiply this side, it's going to cancel. You now have the 10. There we go. Remember, I can do that. All right, so now you've got the square root. There it is there in yellow on its own. So that means all other terms must go to the other side. I'm going to take them to the right-hand side. So the square root, I'm isolating now. You say isolate the radical sign of z. So I've got 3 square root of x minus 2 equals 2. Now, when I bring the x that side, it's going to be minus. When I bring the 2 that side, it's going to be plus 2. So what you've got, you actually have 2 plus 10 is 12. You actually have 12 minus the x. Can you see now? The square root has been isolated. What's the next thing? The next thing is square both sides until no radical sign remains. All right. So I'm going to duplicate that step so that I show you when I'm squaring both sides. So there it is. So I'm going to work with the green. So I'm going to put that in the parentheses. That is the entire left-hand side. Then the entire right-hand side. Then I square that. Remember, when you square both sides, you're only going to have 2 pairs of brackets. 1 pair on the left, 1 pair on the right. Here's the mistake people do. People, they'll square that, and then you find out they square each term individually. No, that's wrong. You don't square the term. You square the entire left-hand side, the entire right-hand side. So you only end up with 2 pairs of parentheses, 1 pair on the left, 1 pair on the right, all the time. All right, now let's proceed. Now this one, when you square it, because it will be raised to the power of 2, it becomes a 9. So you're going to have 9, and then the square root will fall off. You now have x minus the 2 equals 2. When you square this, come on, you know how to fall. When you square the 12 is 144. So you're going to have 144, or you can use the calculator. And then 12 minus x is minus 12. Then you're going to double that. So it's going to be minus, I believe, 24x. And then when you square the negative x, it's going to be positive x squared. Now, since you know this is the restriction, so I'm going to clear everything here by the restriction and just write that one restriction, which is simply x must be greater than the 2. Let's put that in the red box. There we go. Now, let's proceed. Now, everything here, you know, 9 times x, 9 times minus 2, which is negative 18, and then you bring everything to the right-hand side. So I'm going to write the right-hand side first, but starting with the x squared, meaning I want to write it in the standard form. So I'm having x squared, and then dealing with this one, so it's going to be minus 24x. I want to bring another term here. Look, 9x here. When it goes to the other side, it becomes a negative 9x. There we go. And then I've got 144 on the right-hand side. And then this is 2 times, negative 2 times 9. It's negative 18. When it goes over, it becomes a plus 18. Of course, most of you want to put equal sign then and have a 0 here so that this is real on the right-hand side, which is correct. But you don't have to put it that side. You might as well put it here on the other side here, as I did. All right, then let's proceed. We now have x squared. And then when you're working with that, don't worry, you're in an exam. Just use a calculator because you're having negative 24. And then you're going to minus the 9. I don't waste time. So it's negative 33x. If there is any mistake, don't worry. Just fix that. You got 144 and then plus the 18. Watch what you got. You have plus 162, and all of that, you're gonna make that equals to 0. So now we need to factorize that. You need to endeavor to do this. So you must have x here in the parentheses, and also have x over there in the parentheses. All of that equals to 0. So let me tell you, just go ahead and use the quadratic formula if you cannot find the factors very quickly, okay? All right, I assume you must have 6 and 27. All right, 6 and 27. Let's just check 6 and 27. So 6 times 27, yeah, because it's a plus, the signs must be the same, both of them negative. So you have a negative 6, negative 27 there. All right, so now you are going to have x equals to 6, or you would have x equals to 27. Now, remember, the next step is to check your answers if they are part of the solution. These are the answers, but that doesn't mean they are the solutions. But I already know my answer must be greater than 2. Well, 6 it is, 27 is. So most probably one of them will do. So we are going to substitute and see. All right, so if I take the left-hand side, just the left-hand side, if I were to substitute the 2, all right, so we're gonna substitute 6 in that one. So that means you're having square root of 6, and then plus the 2, and then plus the 3. Now I wanna say something. When you're doing your check, you must do it prior the step where you square both sides, before the squaring. Because when you square both sides, you are altering the original equation. All right? 6 and 7 will be they are always solution of the squared one from here where we have squared. 6 and 7 will work beyond here. But prior to this, not all of them work. You might find all of them don't work, or one of them work, or all of them work, okay? Can be any combination. All right, fine, it's possible to have no solution. So you have to check it against before you square. I could have used this one, could have used this one, I could have used that one. So I'm taking the original one. All right, so let's see what we get. Come on, 6 plus 2 will give me 8, all right? So I'm going to have 8 plus the root of 3. That's the other side. So I mean to say I'm going to have root of 8 and then plus the 3. And then when you check your right-hand side, what is going to give you? Let's just check. We'll do it in decimal as well. You having 10, and then you dividing that by the square root of, come on, when you put a 6, now just forgive me here, it's actually minus there. I put a plus there. Let's back off a little bit. Just forgive me there. All right, like I told you, you must keep on checking. So that's a minus 2. So this gives me 4. Square root of 4 is a 2. 2 plus that, you end up with the 5. All right, so there we go. Thank you for being patient with me. So there we go. And then the other one is going to be 6 minus a 2, which is going to be 4, but square root of 4 is 2. So 5 divided by 2, you also get a 5. So we're gonna keep that 6. So 6, we say, thank you very much, you're doing good. Now we need to check the other one, the 27. So we have the following. We have the square root of 27 minus 2, then plus the 3. Come on, 27 minus 2, you get a 25. Square root of 25, it's 5. 5 plus 3, you get positive 8. Good. And then the other one, you have 10 divided by the root of, come on, we know 27 minus that is going to be root of 25. And then you're going to end up with 10 divided by the 5, which gives you 2. So they're not equal. Left-hand side and right-hand side are not equal. So 27 is not part of the solution. So we can throw that one away. And watch now, according to the restriction, yes, the 6, it is indeed greater than that 2. People don't do that. I know. I've never seen anybody that do this, but I'm doing it.